has to leave at 10. Oh, okay, we all got that message. Okay, we're now recording. Councillor Pierce has to leave at 10:30 for another obligation. And there's Robin coming in now. I know we're all old hats at all this, but just a reminder that we continue to hold this meeting virtually with electronic participation, and it is broadcast on the county's meeting broadcast platform. So there are definitely likely people watching the broadcast of this meeting as we proceed through the meeting. Just a reminder about staying muted when not speaking, and if there's something you need to add to the conversation, use the raise hand function if you are able to, or simply just raise your hand and we'll get to you in that order. Nancy has likely taken attendance of everybody. All board members are present. Before we get started though, and Nancy herself is here, I'd like to congratulate Nancy on her new position with the county as the deputy clerk. Congratulations, Nancy, on that well-deserved position.
Thank you very much, Jen.
And we have Robin here as well from the county. And before we get too much further, we'll have Inspector Nash introduce our newest member of the team.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam Chair. So I'd like to introduce Acting Staff Sergeant Ben Gutenberg, who joins us from Haldeman County. He joins us on a temporary assignment as the interim detachment manager. If I may, allow him a couple minutes to sort of talk about his history with the OPP. Ben?
Good morning, and thank you, Inspector. Just for everybody's awareness, my name is Ben Gutenberg. I've been a member of the OPP for 28 years, and I'm currently posted at Haldeman County Detachment, where I'm a uniform sergeant. I want to thank Inspector Nash for allowing me this opportunity to act as the interim operations manager here in Brant. I've been in Haldeman for 27 years, where I've worked very actively with their police services board and with a lot of the community partners there. So I'm looking forward to this opportunity to see how Brant County works and see how the police services board interacts with all the other partners that we have. My background is primarily uniform. I did 7 years on the emergency response team. I've had some positions as in the detective office, either running it as the acting detective sergeant or as a detective myself. In my afterlife, I am a resident of Niagara, and I'm very, very active in the fire service within the community. I'm from the town of Pelham, and I hold the rank of district chief there. So I'm active with their emergency operations center and other aspects within that community as well.
Welcome, Ben. We look forward to working with you as well, and also learning from you on how things are done, in Haldeman as well, and what we can learn from you as well. So welcome to the team. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much.
That's great. So is there, everybody has the agenda that, the revised agenda package that Nancy sent out. Is there, I'll have some updates under my chair update under 9.4, but is there any other items that we need to add to the agenda at this time? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda? Mayor Bailey and Councillor Pierce, and all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. So at this time is our time that we need to declare any pecuniary interests. If there are any, please do so now. Seeing none, thank you. We don't have any delegations, petitions, or presentations today. So we'll move into number 5, the adoption of the previous police service board meeting minutes, which was in July 20th. So at this time, those are in your package. We'll move to adopt those, please. Member Brown, and seconded by Member Verhey. Any other discussion on any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the minutes as presented? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, business arising from the minutes. Anybody would like to raise anything or provide any updates on any of the business? That's a good start. So seeing none, we will carry on. And then we move right into Inspector Nash's statistical report. And I just wanted to say, Inspector Nash, I like some of the formatting changes and some of the things that you've done with the report template and how you've laid it out. I found it really, it was really nice to be able to review that. Not, you know, it was a nice improvement in terms of being able to digest the information. So thank you for doing that and for taking the feedback in. So we'll turn that over to you now for the July and August report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll get right into the report, starting on your page 9 with respect to staffing. We already introduced Staff Sergeant Ben Gutenberg. Obviously, a thank you to Sergeant Andrew Hampson, who was in the role for a number of months and has returned to his home position as Administrative Sergeant here in Brant. Also, a thank you to PC Tim Graham, who's returned to his home position in Brant County and currently assisting with our courts. I do want to point out that we had another member, PC Raquel Cadillo, who was successful in recent competition, will be transferring out of the detachment in December. We've been identified to have 3 recruits join us, but not until February 2022 when they complete their training. And we are expecting 1 new experienced police officer to join the team next month. I'm just awaiting confirmation on that. As of this date, we stand at 5 vacancies. The second traffic management unit member has started his duties in the traffic assignment this week, which is a good thing. So we will see both those members active out in the community. Over to the community mobilization and well-being team. Just very speaking generally about that particular entry, we did notice, and I've talked to the officer about this, we have seen an increase in domestic and family related events or occurrences. We did have another member of the St. Leonard's team just join us this week, which is good. So we continue to provide that support to mental health calls in the community. Over to page 11, youth school resource officer. So based on previous conversation, we talked about change in reporting in that format. That should highlight some of the involvement of the school resource officer. Over to community services and media officer, just a number of ongoing activities with respect to social media. And of course, that member is currently heavily engaged in the planning for the grand opening, which is coming up this month. Page 13, focus patrols. I want to highlight a couple of focus patrols, Highway 24 and Highway 403, number of hours and ongoing since March. We're for Highway 24, we're up over 149 PONs, 22 Part 3s, and 4 criminal code charges, number of warnings, and likewise 403 up over 172 provincial offense notices. The Brant Off-Road Vehicle Enforcement Initiative continues, 147 hours logged, 13 PONs, 2 criminal code charges, and 21 warnings. One of the things with that, we've noticed a reduction in ATV use on a number of properties. Not that it's not still happening, there's definitely a reduction in use. And we've had a number of positive contacts throughout the duration of the summer, which has been very positive. Moving on to the traffic management unit for the months of July and August. As you can see, the numbers are there. I was anticipating higher numbers, but given this member's involvement in obviously vacation, a number of serious collisions and other occurrences, that member has been assisting in other areas as well, including some marine patrol. I do fully expect that those numbers will increase, and we are focusing our efforts on those statistics with the 2 members, and we'll continue to pay attention to that progress. Paid duty traffic enforcement, as we discussed previously, there was opportunities to add additional officers out there to look after traffic enforcement initiatives, focusing on the areas that we've identified through the collision analysis and public complaints. So as you can see, we had a total of 159 hours logged, 149 provincial offense notices, 32 warnings, 3 Part 3s, and a criminal code offense. I will skip over the Crime Stoppers and noteworthy events. Move on to page 23, which is the trends and actions. So a couple things I do want to highlight with respect to July and August stats. Although the total number of charges, including both provincial offenses and criminal code, are down, speeding charges are up for the month of July 34.3% year to date. And impaired related charges are up 30.8% year to date compared to 2020. Likewise, in August, speeding charges are up 30.1% year to date, and impaired charges are up 17% year to date compared to 2020. So although total charges are down, you'll notice that our speeding charges are up significantly, as are our impaired related charges. One might want to say that's good news, but certainly that's concerning, and we will continue to focus in those areas. Back to July, looking at violent crime, we're certainly up 5.3% year to date. Drug crime is up 55.6% year to date compared to 2020, but relatively speaking, both are down compared to 2019. And property crime is down 13.7% year to date. And likewise, in August, you're going to see similar statistics that we're up year to date, both in violent crime and drug crime, but down compared to 2019. And property crime is down as well. Mental health calls, I'll kind of skip over the motor vehicle collisions and vehicle-related property crime, which vehicle-related property crime are down. We just recently noticed a trend of vehicle entries again, so we're paying attention to that just over the last couple months. So it is something we're keeping an eye on. Mental health calls are up 23.1% year to date compared to 2020. That's for July. They're also up compared to 2019, so that's concerning. And likewise, in August, mental health calls are up 12.3% year to date compared to 2020, and also up compared to 2019. Additionally, as I kind of mentioned, moving down to domestic disturbance related calls, we're up 15% year to date compared to 2020 and up compared to 2019. And likewise, August stats are similar. We're up 8.8% year to date. Subject to, very quickly, foot patrol or patrol hours. We had a slight decrease in patrol hours in July versus August, where we had a significant increase in total patrol hours. The information is there with respect to foot patrol, and subject to any questions, that is my report.
So lots to digest there for July and August. And just so we can confirm, Inspector Nash, on page 11 with the youth statistics, those are specific to 18 and, or not 18 and young, 18 and younger, or just under 18, whatever, youth. Those are youth statistics on page 11, they're not adult statistics. So just when discussing things with Inspector Nash, we thought that would be helpful to understand some of the trends and actions that may be occurring with our youth, because we've got youth as part of our community safety and well-being plan as well. So that would be good in terms of a tracking opportunity. Is there specific questions that the board would like to ask or discuss, or have need some further clarification on any of the items that are in the report? Just a quick question before Councillor Pierce then, because I know that he'll have some for us. You talked a little bit about the traffic management unit, Inspector Nash, and in terms of, I guess, our expectations now that it's fully staffed with the two people on that unit, and the work that the paid duty traffic enforcement, is it realistic to expect that we'll start to see the same type of lift with the traffic management unit that we're seeing with the paid duty? Like I realize that July was hard with just one person and then getting called out for other needs and other things, but just wondering what your thoughts are in terms of moving forward with the traffic management unit? And I'm assuming, I don't know, maybe you can clarify, will there be paid duty traffic enforcement beyond September now that you have the 2 people in place?
And thank you, Madam Chair. So with respect to the paid duty enforcement, that has come to a conclusion, so we do not anticipate any more. With respect to the expectations of the traffic management unit, we will see an increase in those statistics.
Okay. Councillor Pierce?
I had to find my mute button there. Thanks, Madam Chair. A couple of things I just want to confirm and get a little more explanation on. So the second traffic management officer is great. Do you know if there's been any meetings between the 2 officers as of this point with Brant Safe Streets, or any meetings that they're going to be having in the next short while? If that's the case, I would love to be a part of those meetings if I could, as representative of PSB and council, just to understand what their ideas are, what they're looking for, and that's kind of stuff going forward. I understand that there's been a few reports of clampdowns on the speeding and the mufflers, and our report states that I'm not sure what else we can do, but speeding in the county appears, and I don't think we're alone, but it appears to be almost out of control with the speed that. A couple things. I just want to confirm. It was mentioned there that the traffic unit officer was pulled to other duties. I don't know if we want to really get into all that right now, but it was my understanding that that was not going to be happening. So I just want to understand what the idea is going forward, that those traffic unit officers are strictly for that they won't be pulled to other duties. So I'm curious if I could just get you to elaborate on that a little bit to start off.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Councillor Pierce. Yeah, a couple of things there, and I apologize. I think I've captured most of what you were saying. You went a little bit digital on me there. With respect to expectations traffic management unit, yes, absolutely. The focus is on traffic management. With respect to some of the occurrences that they've been called to, those could include traffic complaints on the 403, where they are currently. They could involve other collisions in the area. If they're closest to that call, they're going to get called. So the expectation is to focus on these stats, absolutely, and it is something we'll continue to work on, because this particular member that's already in that unit is also Marine trained. There was an opportunity to get that member out on the waterways and to be visible there. So we sort of leveraged that as an opportunity. But going forward, we're going to see increase in those stats for sure. I apologize. There's another question you had with respect to that.
Yeah, sorry, just officers are going to be having potentially Brant Safe Streets or something like that. If at all possible, I'd like to be a part of that meeting if I could, or meetings if I could. I could happy to be a liaison there.
Couple things, Councillor. One is, I'm interested in maybe up to obviously the chair of the board, bringing those members to the next PSB meeting as an intro and a sort of a hello, and sort of hear what your thoughts are and share with them kind of the PSB and the community's expectations. At the same time, I think it's a great idea to connect them with the Safe Streets program for a meeting and have some of those conversations. Obviously, that information that we're getting from Safe Streets, public complaints, and their collision analysis is being shared with them, and we're providing them focus areas to basically go out and conduct enforcement. So I think there's definitely some opportunities there.
Okay, perfect. Now, you just, if I could, Madam Chair, through you kind of alluded to the Marine part of it. So the background of this particular officer is Marine, so that's great. But is that considered part of traffic management, or was that just something to kind of, no pun intended, but to wet his feet?
Yeah, so no, it's not traffic management per se, but allowing him to now take on, say, these other events that he's taken on, and also participating in marine duty, because he has that exposure, allows other members to be freed up to then focus on traffic stats. So they wouldn't be captured in these charts. So let's say that traffic management unit member attended a serious collision, as he did in a couple cases. That frees up another member to conduct enforcement. And I'll highlight, if we look at the totality detachment, speeding charges are up year to date, and just very quickly, 34 and 30%. So when we look at the detachment as a whole, although this member may be involved in that collision, other members are able to take part in other focus patrols or proactive enforcement. So we are seeing across the board an increase in charges. And, so relatively speaking, there's a bit of a balance there, if that makes sense. But again, the expectation on the traffic management unit is to focus on traffic enforcement.
Okay. Thank you. And on page 14 of our report, when it talks about the paid duty traffic enforcement July to September, I'm curious there because it's listed as Grand River Street North, Silver Street, Power Line, and then it's got Paris, Burford, Canesville. I'm curious, are those Grand River Street North, Silver Street, and Power Line included in the Paris numbers? Because if so, the numbers don't jive, or is that in addition to other patrols in Paris?
Yeah, thank you. So that my understanding is those other numbers are outside, although within Paris, they were specific focus areas. One, Grand River Street North, we've had a number of complaints for speeding going up under the rail bridge and past the high school. So we've identified that as a specific requirement. So that's separate from the Paris proper per se. And that captures the other areas that we provide enforcement through. We're getting a number of public complaints for speeders in different areas, not stopping at stop signs, as we discussed. So that's the intent behind those numbers.
Okay. Yeah, I adhere to that because I get calls every week on it. So that's great. Not great that I'm getting the calls, but it's great that we're focusing on that. Two more quick ones, if I could, Madam Chair. On page 23, I've kind of made two notes on page 23. One of them is in I guess it's kind of the middle paragraph when it talks about Brant County had a slight decrease in patrol. At the very end of that paragraph, it's got summer months have been impacted due to member absences due to vacation, injury, and COVID-19 related absences. Did we have any of our officers test positive? Because I didn't think we did.
We certainly have another member who's out of the workplace, still related to that. And obviously that has an impact.
Okay. I appreciate that. And then the other, I guess, overall question, and I know I'm sure you folks all around the regions are speaking of this, but with speeding, it just seems that, and I don't know if there's any rationale behind it myself, but it just appears that the speeds that people are being caught at are just like, it's unbelievable. I think there was one in there like over 100 kilometers an hour. Curious, all over the province. Has there been any brainstorming or anything like that we can try and understand how we can combat that, if we can combat that? I don't know. It's very disturbing stats when you look at the reports in there. It looks as though the high speedings and the impaireds, as you kind of related to there, are up. I'm curious if there's been any conversations at the the inspector level or the higher level than that as to what can we do, or are we doing as much as we can to try and combat that?
Thank you, Councillor. So a couple things there. Yeah, we continue the conversations. We recognize that there are a number of people who continue to speed in excess of the posted speed limit. As you may be aware, some of the changes to the laws with respect to stunt driving are now in effect. So people can look at a 14-day impoundment of their vehicle and 30-day suspension of their driver's license. I just had a conversation with a couple of people this morning, and they're noticing that the high milers that we would have experienced previously, we're not seeing as many. Now that's anecdotal. That's not based on statistics or anything, but it's an observation of a couple of members who've been out doing traffic enforcement. Not that people don't continue to speed, but they're kind of keeping their speeds down. So I'd like to think we continue to have an impact, and we will continue to get out there and we will enforce the traffic law and deal with the issues as they present themselves.
Okay. And just to wrap it up, Madam Chair, I like the format of the report as well. It is, as Madam Chair said there, it's easier to digest. And as always, thanks for what you guys do.
Just to follow up then, Inspector Nash, on Councillor Pierce's, I know we're kind of focusing on this traffic management unit thing, but I guess I just want to make sure that as our role in terms of, overseeing and guiding, and with what council's probably expecting with the enhanced contract and the extra additional staff, I appreciate the additional work, freeing up somebody and then having other people being able to do other things. I guess, how do we capture that in our reporting? Because if that is indeed happening, we want to make sure that we're capturing that somehow in the traffic management report. So if they're doing ABC, but they got pulled away, and instead other people were doing this, somehow I realize it's in the larger aggregate report, but when it comes time to renew this contract, or it comes time to report on it and benchmark it, I guess I would hope that we have a way of being able to demonstrate its impact, because I think there are ancillary benefits as to what you said, but we want to be able to demonstrate those as well, I think.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So a couple things. So those expectations of the traffic management unit have been clarified. So I do anticipate an increase in those statistics. Additionally, I think the best way to capture it is, again, if we compare the overall number of speeding charges, again, up 34 and 30% respectively. I not necessarily focus on the impaired piece in this case, but definitely speeding, because if that officer is attending a crash, other people can continue to conduct traffic related enforcement, be it intercept on the highway or be out in the community and effect those stops. So
That's right. Okay.
that's probably a good measure.
I also just wanted to comment. I know we kind of not glanced, but we have all read the noteworthy events, and you've been very prolific. Your team's been very prolifically busy in July and August. And I guess I just wanted to highlight that there's been some things that you've highlighted in the report that are pretty significant actions taken by OPP members here in Brant to keep our community safe. And there's quite a few things in here that that would show the reach that you're having beyond just traffic. I know we focus a lot on traffic, but some of the things that are in here, whether it's the human trafficking or the drug issues or some of the crime and stolen property, there's a lot of things in here that I think are important to recognize that that your team is doing quite a wide range of things out in the county. So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
And thank you, Madam Chair. If I can just add quickly to the one on page 21, which was a warrant we did with property crime. And speaking with one of those members this morning, we have returned or expect to return upwards of $100,000 in property to a number of victims. And, that's a significant effort on the part of that team, and certainly commend them for their efforts. But that kind of gives you an idea of the impact of that particular event on the 27th of August. I think we're in the area of $200,000 worth of stolen property in total.
Any other questions or comments for Inspector Nash? Seeing none, that's we'll move on then to the page. Gosh, I've been flipping back and forth now. I got to find it. Page 49 is our false alarm summary. And I believe in our report, Inspector Nash, you mentioned that alarm calls are down. And then this is the alarm summary that we have provided to us by the county for our information. I'm not sure that there are any questions or discussion on that. But if not, we'll need to seek a motion now that we accept the detachment commander's report and the OPP false alarm summary as presented. Mayor Bailey, thank you. And seconded by Member Verhey. And all those in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda. We have several pieces of communication that Nancy's included in our package. The first one is dealing with updated police service advisor zone assignments. So if you remember, maybe a year ago, I think we spoke with Chris Harepath from the ministry, Solicitor General's office. It looks, based on this notice, we have had a shift in folks, and our person assigned to zone 4 is Ron LeClaire, as noted in the all chiefs memo. The other item, 8.2 on page 57, is the updated Provincial Offences Act income statement as of June 30th. I'm not sure that anybody has any specific questions on that, but I guess it shows the activity and the income coming in from those fines. Seeing no questions. 8.3, the Ontario Association of Police Services Board responded to the Solicitor General regarding draft regulations specific to 3 things. It looks like active attacker incident proposed regulations, alternative provision of policing functions, and code of conduct for police service board members. So Ontario Police Arbitration and Adjudication Commission proposed regulations. So they've provided comments on that, and that's concluded in our package on our behalf. And I'm sure if there's more on that, Marty can give us an update on that if there's anything additional from Zone 4 when he has his time on the agenda. And then 8.5 8.4, excuse me, is the announcement that Fred Koskinen has finished up his role as Executive Director of OAPSB. Marty, Member Verhey, had let us know that at last meeting that was upcoming, and that'll be a big hole for OAPSB to fill. But there's an interim announcement here of Mr. Bruce Chapman as the interim Executive Director while they do a search. And then 8.5 is a labor conference, save the date of November 18th. Looks like it's applicable to both Section 31 and Section 10 boards, board members and staff in terms of HR and labor relations. And there's a little bit of a draft agenda there in terms of some of the challenges with WSIB and the new Police Service Act, and working on diversity, equity, and inclusion in hiring practices. So that's November 18th. I'm not sure if anybody's interested in attending that on behalf of the board or not. I haven't looked that far ahead in my calendar yet to figure that one out either. And then lastly, I guess in response to that labor conference, there's a request for sponsorship and various dollar amounts that are in there, which seem to be above our means. So I'm not sure if there's any discussion on any of those items that have been presented. Seeing none, is there any interest in the request for sponsorship at this time? Seeing none of that either, I think we'll pass for now then. Unless anybody has any alternative thoughts or processes there. Moving right along, John, look at the time. We're doing well. I know I don't want to jinx ourselves. We'll go into updates here. Councillor Pierce, do you have anything from council you'd like to update us on?
Nothing major at this point in time. We're excited as council to get these the new traffic officers started up and to understand the good that they're going to do and the benefits of having them there. So that's kind of the word around the horseshoe, the virtual horseshoe of these days. But we're kind of looking forward to getting that up and going and seeing where that takes us.
Quick question for you, perhaps. Is there any update on community safety zones, photo radar, implementation of that? Like, we're moving forward on that, I assume? We meaning the county, not Police Service Board.
Well, a couple things. We're looking at some community safety zones. I believe there's some of that that comes up in tonight's meeting. As per the photo radar, there's discussions on that. I think it would probably be best in-camera discussions.
Okay. And next question, last question, only because I had a couple of people ask me this recently about school buses, now that we're back to school and school buses are out on the road. Was there any additional follow-up, council, that council did with the presentation we had at police service board meeting about the cameras and school buses and?
Okay, with Madam Chair, I'd like to talk to that one in camera as well.
Okay. Sorry about that, but we can do that for sure.
Excuse me, Jen, can I just get a motion to receive the communications as information, please?
Thank you, Nancy. So a motion to receive all the communication, Mayor Bailey and Councillor Pierce, first and seconded, and all those in favor of that motion? Carried. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just to wrap that up, Madam Chair, if there's anything that the board would like me to take back to council, I'd be happy to do that. But other than that, we'll go from there.
Okay. Okay. Marty, Member Verhey, OAPSB Zone 4. Gosh, that's a mouthful. Zone 4 update. And I know that there was some information about the cannabis issue that you had circulated. Is there anything, I don't believe you've had a meeting, so I'm putting you on the spot probably for an update, but is there anything that you'd like to share?
On that particular topic, not really. There hasn't been a formal meeting. It's coming up on October 6th as our next meeting. PSB is meeting on the 22nd, so tomorrow, I believe. Yeah, and we'll get a few updates from them that we can include in our agenda for the 6th. But no, there hasn't been a formal meeting. I've kind of sensed that it's not, or at least hasn't, from what I've heard, it hasn't been as big of a discussion in our county as it has been in some of the others within Zone 4. So I'm not looking to start big discussions if it's not necessary, or I was just taking it back on behalf of everybody on Zone 4 because that's what we committed to do at our last meeting. So I don't have anything to add if there's if this board doesn't feel there's merit in discussing it further. That's that topic.
So just on that topic then, just and maybe I need to draw on Inspector Nash here, but my understanding of some of the issues that we're seeing in Brant County maybe aren't specific to what you provided in the report from the other Zone 4 member, but it relates back to Health Canada and their regulations, and for those that are licensed operators and the level inspection that they may have, which our OPP aren't, the levels of inspection or law enforcement don't jive. And maybe Inspector Nash, you could probably articulate that far better than I've just butchered.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So yeah, there's a number of considerations. And I mean, obviously we'll do what we can within current legislation. We'll respond to any concerns. And there are occasions where certificates exist from the previous regulations, and those become, how do I put it, delicate situations that we have to handle carefully. But we will respond to public complaints, and we will look at cases on a case-by-case basis.
Member Verhey?
I think in summary, what the other member boards are concerned about, or what the hype is all about in these other boards, is that neighborhoods where these grow ops are popping up, they're getting a significant amount of complaining from the neighbors, understandably, and they're feeling like their hands are tied at the municipal and or provincial level because of the lack of clarification in whose responsibility lies where in regulating these things with Health Canada. So they were, like I said, I'm kind of going in circles here because it wasn't a very clear objective set out at the meeting. It was more like, hey, let's just keep banding together to push this topic, and let's not just give up and let it go by the wayside. We need to somehow keep fighting. Some opinions were just put up your hands because you're not going to be able to change. Health Canada is not going to listen. Others were saying, no, we need to continue to band together and try to continue to push for change at the federal level so that we can hone in and deal with these issues in these, municipal neighborhoods. So that's kind of a Cole's notes of the discussion. That's all I have to really say.
Any follow-up or discussion on anything that Member Verhey has presented? Okay, thanks, Marty.
And then, sorry, just
Yep,
is there
go
any,
ahead.
I don't know if there's any need for update on, I mean, you've got the memo there regarding Fred. So that was formalized since our last meeting, but just a really quick update. I've had a meeting with, I had a phone call with Bruce Chapman, the interim director, just to have a little chat about where he hopefully sees things going. And then I've also since met with Kurt Allen, who's our Zone 4 director, just to give, just to share some ideas. I'm not sure how entrenched. I think the mayor's fairly aware of the operations of Zone 4 from his involvement there, but it's a fairly sleepy zone. We're not super active in the grand scheme of all the zones. So I reached out to Kurt and said, hey, you know what, if there's this interim position right now, and the new project is to find a permanent director, let's maybe take the opportunity to see how we as Zone 4 can influence that, and what we need to be doing as a zone, or what we need to be doing as an organization. Were we on the right track with where Fred was going? There seems to be some disagreement within the different member zones. So yeah, just passing on a brief update that we had a chat, and he's actively involved in the recruitment, as well as putting together a bit of a strategic plan on where the association should be going and focusing on, and then trying to merge the two together to find the executive director that will fulfill that mandate. So it gives us an opportunity to be a little bit more involved in crafting somewhat of a strategic plan. So I'm trying to be as actively involved in that as we can, and Kurt's great to have on board, because he's one of the few members on the board selected to go down that road. So I'll keep you posted if and when we learn more.
Great. Anything else, Marty, or is that everything?
Sorry, that's everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's no questions for Member Verhey or comments, nope. All right. So 9.3, we have this as a standing item on our agenda, community safety wellbeing plan. Just wanted to highlight that hard copies are available. If I'm sure Mayor Bailey and Councillor Pierce have received those. I also received one as a member of the committee, but if anybody else wants a hard copy of them, we can get that out to you so that you have a copy of it. It's also available electronically online. Member Verhey, did you put your hand up that you want a copy? Yep. And Member Brown, did you want a hard copy then too? Is that a yes?
Please, if I could.
Okay, I'll just I'll let them know and have that sent to you. Okay. And there's nothing else at this time to report on the community safety wellbeing plan from my perspective. I'm not sure if anybody else has anything they want to add. Chair update 9.4. I have a couple of things I want to update you on quickly. The vests are actually produced and available and ready. Finally, the long drawn out process, but they are now available. Nancy has them, and we'll be getting those to the Brant North group shortly. They don't have an imminent event, but we do have them available. And then October 1st, our new towing contract comes into place. So Nancy is coordinating all the signatures with all the various folks from the Brant Towing Group and myself and Vice Chair Brown. So that'll be done and finished and completed. So that's another item that we can cross off our list, which will be next week. October 1st will be next week. As Inspector Nash alluded, the grand opening ceremonies of the detachment building are next week. And I've been invited to, I think all of us have been invited to attend as police service board members. And then I've been invited to represent police service board with a few comments, and I'll keep them short because I'm sure the list of dignitaries speaking is probably long enough. But it would be an exciting day to be able to officially have everybody there to open that building in a safe way with what we're doing here. So appreciate all the county staff and all the OPP staff that are working hard to bring that together, because I know that bringing in all the different dignitaries and folks that are going to be there, that's a lot of coordination and a lot of work that goes into that. So I'm looking forward to that great day. The Detachment Barbecues, we were just starting them at our last PSB meeting in July, and I just wanted to follow up. Vice Chair Brown and I attended all of them with Inspector Nash, and what a great opportunity that was for Member Brown and I to interact with folks from the various platoons and the various positions that they have, and get some feedback and just put some faces to names and talk a little bit about things and have some insight into the detachment team and Inspector Nash and his team. So that was a really great thing, and I appreciate Inspector Nash, you organizing that and doing that for your folks. I think that was a real great benefit for Member Brown and I to attend and to be part of and to interact with everybody. I enjoyed it. Member Verhey, you had a question there?
Yes, just following up from the conversation, I think, I don't know if it was pre-COVID or before one of the waves or where that fell, but did we as a police service board end up putting it on in terms of paying for the event? Okay,
Yeah,
good.
we approved that at the last police service board meeting. So Inspector Nash has submitted his expenses for reimbursement.
Perfect.
Yep. The other thing that Vice Chair Brown and I were able to do that had been on our list pre-COVID, and we were able to get this organized, was we met with Chief Tib and Superintendent Early at the detachment with Inspector Nash. Chief Tib took over from Chief Kane, if any of you are familiar with him from previous role. So Chief Kane retired, and Chief Tib comes from up Northern Ontario way and is down here now. And we were able to have a good conversation with himself and Superintendent Early, and both Member Brown and I, have a better understanding of some of the infrastructure of how there are 3 superintendents in West Region that help with the oversight, and Superintendent Dana Early is the one that's assigned to our detachment in terms of how they manage and how they interact with things. So we were able to have a really good conversation about vacancies and how that impacts us in Brant. We were able to have a very good conversation about training and how all of the impacts of people away from the detachment and the holes that it leaves, or nothing in specific about anybody in particular, but just how do we make sure that we have a full roster of people and a full complement of people available to Brant to do the things that we need to get done here in Brant. So that was a really good conversation that we were able to have with them and highlight that. How the temporary assignments work, better understanding of how those things are done, the training and the opportunities, and how that works with competitions. We also talked a lot about what other detachments do and what best practices there are for the detachment commander evaluation process and our role in that process, as well as the communication with Superintendent Early and Chief Tib in that process. So that was very informative for Member Brown and I. We also came away with that with a couple of suggestions in terms of communication opportunities. One that Chief offered up was at the appropriate time when it makes sense, that we can get together in person or what have you. We've talked about having a council PSB meeting in terms of talking about roles and responsibilities. Chief has indicated that they would be prepared to also attend in terms of West Region Command and be able to attend something similar and be able to answer council's questions or PSB members' questions or whatever that may be an opportunity for some enhanced communications amongst all the interested parties. So that was an opportunity that we wanted to let you guys know about that we can plan for in the future with West Region also attending. We thought that was a good, both Member Brown and I thought that was a good opportunity to take advantage of. And then one of the things we also talked about in terms of what other police service boards have had good success with is that, you know, the priority that we have in terms of enhancing communication between PSB and council is, and Councillor Pierce, I look forward to your comments on this, is actually scheduling an annual check-in. So we do, you know, communications back and forth, and Councillor Pierce brings things back and forth, but actually scheduling ourselves as a delegation with Inspector Nash, with whether it's myself or whoever the chair is at the time, but scheduling that on an annual basis so that we can check in with council and Inspector Nash and or whoever the detachment commander is can be part of that process as well, and have that presentation on an annual basis. And Superintendent Early mentioned that had some good success in her experience with other roles that she's been in. So I thought, well, that's something that we should maybe bring forward as a thing to try, and it can only enhance our communications and our ability to work together better, right? So that was one of our takeaways as well from that meeting. I'll pause there in case there's any discussion that you want to have further on that meeting before I go into the rest of my update. Councillor Pierce.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Through you, yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea, and we've talked about it before with this board in regards to just the communication back and forth, how critical it is between PSB and council. The only thing that I would suggest, and it's just a suggestion, honestly, once a year, if that's what we decide to do, that's fine. But I would even suggest that do it a couple times a year.
You went digital on us again. I think you are suggesting maybe a couple times a year versus one time a year.
Do it a biannual type. Sorry about that.
Yep.
I'm not sure what's going on. We've had a couple power flickers down here this morning that might be messing things up. But yeah, I was just I think it's crucial that there's communication back and forth even beyond what I'm bringing back and forth. And
yep.
I would suggest it wouldn't hurt to do it a couple times a year.
That's a great suggestion. I think Member Brown and I would agree with that as well, that biannual, annual minimum, right? And then and have that enhanced opportunities. So if that's something that's agreeable, Inspector Nash and I can talk offline in terms of how best to proceed with that in terms of timing, and then make the request to council for that opportunity. Councillor Pierce, if that makes sense to you. Okay. Any other I guess before I finish my list of things I wanted to finish on my chair update, I'll defer a little bit here to Member Brown. Was there anything else, putting you on the spot, was there anything else that you wanted to highlight with that meeting that we had with Chief and Superintendent and Inspector Nash?
Thanks, Madam Chair. No, I think you covered it very well. It was a very productive meeting. We both learned a lot that will help us move things forward. We have a better understanding of the OPP's hierarchy as far as it goes with the detachment. We did not know there was a superintendent's positions there. We understand now who it is and what their role is, and I think that is nothing but positive for us moving forward. Great.
So just lastly, then, I just wanted to just let you know that with Nancy's help, we had a backlog of PSB certificates that we were going to recognize just as COVID started, and then we paused it all, thinking that we were going to be short-term pausing, and now here we are 18 months later, and we haven't been able to do anything in person. So so I made the executive decision to get this out of the backlog, and with Inspector Nash's help, we'll present the certificates, nothing formal, but we still want to recognize. There's several citizens, I won't read out their names, but there are several citizens that either have received an OPP commissioner's commendation for community service or for bravery in assisting the OPP. And then I do want to acknowledge several of our OPP detachment members that will receive a certificate from PSB and County Council and as well, they've been recognized by OPP internally as well. But PC Vitalis and PC Varga and Sergeant Haste have received a Commissioner's Commendation for life-saving. And PC Gallant and Sergeant Hampson received a Commissioner's Commendation for exemplary performance of duty. And PC Perryman received the Citation for life-saving. And I just wanted to acknowledge the good work of these people in those extenuating circumstances that they were able to help save someone's life, and also go above and beyond the call of duty to make sure that our community is safe. So I just wanted to acknowledge those 6 OPP members. I know that they've already been acknowledged internally, but we wanted to get that cleaned up, and we didn't think COVID was going to be as long as it is, but unfortunately that's the case. And then we'll continue to also acknowledge those people moving forward as they become nominated for the work that they're doing as well. So just to take that moment to be able to recognize them, I think that's important. And I think that is everything from my perspective. Lastly, I did attend the Brant North Community Policing Group last week, which covers St. George, Glen Morris area. Small group, but they're in a rebuilding phase in terms of the path forward that they want to go in, and Inspector Nash and PC Vitalis are helping them with that support and what they are trying to do here in the community. So that's great news. And I'm not sure if there's been any additional meetings of the Paris group, and hopefully if there's other groups that pop up, we'll be able to interact with them as well. Concerns that were expressed at that meeting, at the Brant North meeting recently here in St. George, there's been some auto vehicle break-ins, so that was top of mind for people here at that meeting. And what could they do to work on some prevention and education programs to help the community become more aware of these threats. And unless there's any questions with anything I've given you as an update, lots going on. Member Verhey?
Yeah, just regarding your update on the Brant North, I think you called it, the community policing group. I know we talked about this, and it might have even been pre-COVID. Is that when, are the other groups actively meeting? And if so, I know we briefly talked about us as board members from those kind of respective areas joining them just to further the engagement and the camaraderie between Police Services Board, OPP, and these community groups.
Yep. So I attended Brant North, on behalf of Police Service Board. That is the St. George. That's what they're calling themselves. That's not what I call them. I'm not sure if Paris is actively meeting. I know that they had one meeting perhaps in person in the summer, but they're not doing electronic meetings, as to my understanding, and Inspector Nash can clarify. I have not attended theirs yet, but I would like to sit in on one of them at some point. And to my understanding, there are no other active community policing groups in any of the other communities in the county, but I'm going to defer to Inspector Nash to clarify.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So that's correct. Those are the only 2 groups that are currently operating. We certainly look to other opportunities as we go forward. And I believe the Paris group did meet this summer. I want to say it was last month, and I don't know what the timeline is for the next meeting, but when I get that information, I will share it with yourself and you can share it with the board.
Great. Member Verhey?
So just as a follow-up question then to you, Madam Chair, then that the other ones fell apart then, I guess, because there was sign up and there was a little bit of a starting group, wasn't there?
So what my understanding was, when we did the town hall meetings in 2019, there was interest in some of the other communities. But what happened to starting up community, like I think there was a difference between having town hall meetings and being interested in learning more versus actual having active community policing groups. St. George has had an active one or a fluctuating one for many, many years. And I believe Paris has as well, but I'm not sure if the other communities were looking to start them. But you're right, there was some sign-up sheets at each of the town hall meetings. Inspector Nash, maybe you could help us on that part.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, there were sign up lists of interest. So that interest was there, but they never actually got off the ground. I would suggest it's probably likely COVID related. However, in our discussions, we talked about maybe future town hall meetings, depending where we are next spring. That might be an opportunity to sort of revisit that and, do some presentations in the other communities.
Yeah, that, and hopefully restart that interest level in some of those communities. Okay, the last item there is 2021 priorities, and the only thing that I have to update you there on is Inspector Nash and I have been liaising back and forth about the community update that we've had on pause, the printed or the digital, whatever it's going to be. So it is, I have some homework that I have to check with Nancy on in terms of our previous discussions that we've had on this topic so that we can make sure that we're all on the same page. But to just wanted you to know that Inspector Nash was still moving forward on that initiative in terms of having that communication go out to the community. So we'll hopefully have something more at the next meeting that we can talk more about specifically. And if there's nothing else there, I don't know if there's anything. We had 2 items raised earlier that could be in camera, but is there any, if there's any other items for Inspector Nash, is we need to go in camera for the last 2 discussion points, I believe, Councillor Pierce, if he doesn't freeze on me.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll need to seek a motion then. Mayor Bailey, thank you, and seconded by Member Brown to convene a meeting in camera at this time. All those in favor? And that's carried. So we'll just give Nancy a minute here.
I'm just going to set you everybody up to a breakout room.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Okay. Nancy, we're back online, I believe.
Yes, we are. Thank you.
Thank you. So I don't believe, unless there's anything else on our agenda that we haven't covered, I believe we're, Councillor Pierce, have you noted the time that we have here? Oh, we're right on like 10:25. Our next meeting, I don't have in front of us, but Nancy will have a calendar appointment for us on the 3rd Tuesday of October, I believe is like the 19th-ish. Don't quote me on that, but somewhere around that time after Thanksgiving. I'll see many of you next week at the Detachment grand opening. And without further ado, then, I guess we will declare this meeting adjourned with a motion by one of us, please. Member Brown at 10:25. Oh, duly noted, Councillor Pierce.